In today's lesson, we'll be looking at environmental conditions and specifically impacts on ecosystems and how they change constantly. These changes can be short-term, such as waves crashing into a rock, as we can see in this picture, or longer term, such as the seasons that we have. Not all changes are natural too. Human activity can change ecosystems as well. We're now going to be talking about sustainable ecosystems. Natural ecosystems are sustainable ecosystems. Last week we looked at food webs and food chains, and we've seen that the circle of life is obviously untouched in the natural ecosystems. Human activities can change ecosystems, resulting in sustainable or unsustainable environments. If a species leaves its ecosystem because its needs are no longer met and cannot find a suitable place to live, then it is in danger of becoming extinct. Now what we'll get you to do is talk to the person next to you or near you about certain human activities that can change ecosystems. And you are to write these into your book, and after this we'll have a class discussion on some of the answers that you've found. Remember, what's written in red you need to write down. The first one is our traditional use of fire. Traditional burning practices by the Indigenous Australians use cool fires, burn the grass and low shrubs without destroying the top leaves of the tallest trees so they could rejuvenate. They had different areas that they burnt at different times of the year, and this created a mosaic pattern which provided a variety of habitats for different plants and animals to live in, and also a variety of food for the Indigenous Australians to eat. However, in the early 1800s, when Europeans arrived in Australia, this traditional Indigenous burning stopped, and therefore many ecosystems that they had created over many years disappeared. We'll now stop the video so you are able to write this in. Floods can change an ecosystem too. For example, when water reaches Lake Eyre, which is in northern South Australia, it completely changes the ecosystem there. After remaining in the sand for years, we see that seeds of wildflowers germinate, and they produce large areas of colour. Fish and other aquatic animals also flow into the lake from surrounding rivers and creeks. There are also thousands of water birds that flock to the lake and start nesting and breeding too. These young birds are an abundant food source for all the predators, such as the dingoes and kites that live around the lake. A desert ecosystem returns when all the floodwater dries up after many months or even years. Conversely, we can see that floods can also destroy ecosystems by carrying large amounts of soil from the land down rivers and lakes and into the ocean. This soil settles out of the water, covering coral reefs, sea grasses, and other aquatic habitats. This covering, known as sediment, prevents light from reaching the plants and smothers all small animals such as corals. And we know that through photosynthesis, plants are able to grow, so this means that they're not able to grow properly. Many of the organisms living in these ecosystems die, and the system is permanently damaged from these floods. I'll now stop the video so that you are able to write in the red coloured writing into your books. Human activities such as agriculture can also change ecosystems. In Australia, a large proportion of total land area has been cleared of native vegetation. These are the natural plants that usually grow in the area. The land is now used to graze animals such as cows, pigs and sheep, or to grow crops such as potatoes and other types of vegetables. These agricultural areas provide very different habitats from the native vegetation that was once there. We can also see that they use fertilizers and pesticides used on the crops, and these may wash into rivers or creeks from the farmland, causing changes in river and wetland ecosystems too. The video will now be stopped so you can write what's in red into your science book. There are other types of human activities such as logging, mining and urbanisation that can change ecosystems too. For example, logging is obviously cutting down trees for construction, furniture making and wood pulp for the production of paper. In doing this, though, they destroy the trees and all the habitats and environments that were contained in them. We also have our mining, where loose soil is scraped away from the surface of the earth. However, this loose soil also washes into rivers and creeks and destroys the habitat of water plants which cannot grow in the muddy water. We also have urbanisation, where towns and cities are built on land that were once natural ecosystems. The video will now be stopped so you can write what's in red into your science book. Okay, so now that we've done the writing and we've got the background knowledge of different ecosystems and how they can be changed, we're going to do an activity looking at how would things change. So, how would things change if all supermarkets were closed down? Talk to the person next to or near you for 1 minute. We'll then follow this by a class discussion. The video will be stopped now. So now that the class has had a discussion of how life would be changed if supermarkets were closed down in your area, in your own words, you need to describe what you think would happen in the short term of 2 weeks and in 6 months. Also, you'll need to explain how this relates to the destruction of natural environment and the effect on the organisms that live there. Once you've individually completed this activity, you will receive 2 worksheets, one based on food chains and the other based on food webs. At the end of the lesson, you'll need to hand up your books so Mr. Shield can mark them and give them back by Thursday's lesson. So good luck, happy learning, and I'll see you all Thursday.